Okay, this is the third problem on the practice test. It's called classes and objects. And what we have to do is we have to write a new baseball player class. Okay, it has 4 private variables: player name, a string, team, a string, hits an integer, at bats an integer. We're going to write a constructor. We are going to write a property procedure for each one. It'll be the same name as the private variable except with a capital letter for the first letter. And we'll write some public methods. And here is some code to test it, which we already have in our code. So let's flip over. And so this is the code I was talking about. This is exactly what's in the problem description. So we're going to create a Babe Ruth, a Ted Williams, another Babe Ruth, and there's no baseball player class, so we are going to have to create one. So I guess I can leave this right here because I'm going to a new file for this. So let's go to project and let's tell it that we want to add a class. The name of the class is supposed to be baseball player with a capital B and a capital P. Okay, and we had 4 private variables. We had a private variable called name, and I gotta tell what type it is. We have a private variable, also a string, called team. We have a private variable of type int, which is going to be the number of hits, and we have another private variable of type int, which we're going to call at bats. Okay. And we need to write a constructor which will accept all of those. So constructors are public, and they have the name. They don't have return type, but they have the name of the class. So the class is baseball player. And it is a parameterized constructor, so we're going to pass in another the initial values for all 4 of our private variables. So we're going to pass in a string representing the name of a player. We're going to pass in another string representing the team of a player. We're going to pass in another int called representing the hits of the player, and one more int representing the number of at-bats that that player has had. Okay, and I want to put this value here into this variable here. So the ones up here are all identified by putting this in front of them. So we're going to do this dot name equals name. Okay, and semicolon. Now we've got name occurring here as an argument, and when I click this one, they both turn gray. So this is referring to this one. Now if I click on this one over here, because I've got this in front of it, it's referring to the one up here. So it's legal for these to have the same names as these variables. You just have to make sure that whenever you want to refer to these, that you put this in front of them. Otherwise, while I'm in here, any reference to name is going to refer to the closest one, which is right here, not the one up here. So I got to put 3 more statements like this, basically. This dot team equals team, which is the number or the name of the team that was passed in up here. Then this dot hits equals hits. So this dot hits is this one. Plain old hits is this one. And the last thing then is this dot at bats equals at bats. Okay. If I click on this one, it tells me I'm referring to the argument that was passed in. If I click on this one, it tells me I'm referring to the private variable called at bats. Okay. So let's go back over here. And let's see. So we're not going to do the error message because we didn't get to talk about that in class. So we will skip that. For each of the private variables, write property procedures in get and set pairs. We're going to be able to get and set each one of these if we want to. So that's pretty straightforward. Public string name with a capital N. No parentheses because this is a property procedure. And to get it, I'm going to return name with a lowercase n. And to set it, I'm going to take lowercase name equals whatever the argument is that was passed in, and that's the keyword value. I'm going to do the same thing for 3 more variables here. Public string team with a capital T. Up above, it's with a lowercase t. And to get it, I'm going to return team with a lowercase t. Maybe, okay. And I'm going to set and I've got 2 integers. Start to write string. One's going to be hits with a capital H. These are all kind of starting to look the same, aren't they? And one more. Public int at-bats with a capital A. Get, return the local private variable called at-bats. Otherwise, I'm going to change the value of at-bats to whatever the value was that was passed in as an argument for me. Okay, let's flip back over. And now I have the following public methods. Batting average returns a float. And if they don't have any at-bats, and rather than dividing by 0, we'll just return 0 for batting average, although technically that's not right, but I think that's the way it would be reported in the statistics. No arguments need to be passed because we already have access to hits and at-bats for the player. So let's flip over here and public float. Don't need any arguments. And I'm just going to, if, not hits, if the divisor, which is at bats, is equal to 0, then we're going to set, I'm going to return 0. Now, if it's not 0, we won't do the return. I don't need an else here. I can just say return hits divided by at bats. Okay, except there's a problem with that. This is an integer and this is an integer. Hits will always be less than or equal to at bats, and if it is, so if I'm dividing a small number by a bigger number, I'm always going to get 0. So I got to make one of these a float first. So I want to make it a float, not a flat, but a float. Okay. I want to make it a float before I do the division. If I do the division first and then put the float out here in front, I'm still going to get the floating point value for 0, which is not what I want at all. Okay, let's flip back over here, and we have an equals. And this will accept a baseball player as an argument. That's what this other player is right here. And it'll return true if both have the same name and the same team. Comparison should not be case sensitive. So we need to shift them all to uppercase before we do our comparison probably. So let's write an equals function down here. Again, that's going to be public. It's going to be a Boolean, bool. And we're going to pass in another baseball player, and I'll call it other player. So they're equal if the names and the teams are equal. So if this dot name dot to upper is equal to other player dot name dot to upper, and second part of that is this dot team is equal to dot to upper is equal, that's a function, so I got to put my parentheses on the end. Other player dot team dot to upper, and I forgot my parentheses up here. Okay, so this last parenthesis closes off the Boolean expression in the if statement. If that's the case, I'm going to return true. If it's not the case, I'm going to return false. Okay. We got one more. We want to convert to a string. And we're going to return a string in the format the name and slash, the team and slash, hits and a slash, at bats and a slash, and then the batting average. Okay, so let's go to our toString. And with that one, we have to do the override. Whoops, lowercase. So it wants to put that default value in for me. I'm not going to let it do it. So I want to return the player name, slash, plus the team. Now, I don't have to put this in front of these because the only thing called name and team that I have access to are the ones up here. Notice what happens if I click on name here and it turns gray. This one up here turns gray as well. So that's how I know for sure that I'm referring to the right one. So you could put this in front of them if you wanted to, but you don't have to. Okay, plus hits, plus slash, at bats, plus, and then I've got a function that calculates my batting average, and I can just call that from here, just like I could call any other function. So I'm going to call batting average. Okay. And I think we were supposed to make this, supposed to do a format, and I think we want N3 for 3 digits. Let's go ahead and try that. So let's go ahead and can't run it until I uncomment that other stuff. Did I uncomment that other stuff? Yes, I did. So I just need to comment out this one other command here. Let's go ahead and run it. So our right line statements tell me what we should be getting, and so we've done these. So starting here, Ruth Babe, Yankees, 100 for 300 is a batting average of .333. Williams with the Red Sox, 203 out of 500 is a 406 batting average, and it is printing them out correctly. So we did our format specifier the right way. Okay. Now, the last thing we have to do is we have to read a bunch of baseball players from a file. But that's video number 4. So we'll stop here.